Why did you have to hold them back?
Well, I still had to make it, and I still have to, survive. I still had to,
What do you mean you thought it might be too far out?
Not too far. I didn't want to really, I didn't really want to, if somebody's going to give me $350, and if I did a certain thing which wasn't that hard for me to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't give me the $350, if I went along with what you want to call ideals, and my ideals aren't that important to me. I don't really care to have any, so it didn't matter. That was just a certain thing, I just transferred a personal thing into that. It wasn't really that big when I started. I was just playing. I had no idea I was going to be playing now.
Mm-hmm.
When I started playing, I was just playing acoustical guitar, easily understandable. That is, and the songs are very understandable too. I make bread, You have to scuffle.
If you figure if some of the songs that you're doing now, where the lyrics, well, they
are in their perfect form now. They're not in their, they're not in their form of hearing it perfectly.
Yeah.
They're not in the form of perfection, but they're in their perfect form. They're where they're supposed to be now. They're not, in any kind of, attempt to disguise anything. There's no. It's all straight right down there. It's all.
Yeah. What I meant was, do you feel if you had started with that kind of song, it might have been harder to get...
Well, I did start with that song.
Yeah.
I did start that way, but I couldn't make it that way.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Totally impossible. It would have been total failure. I didn't really think, I didn't look ahead and say, well, if I do it this way now, I can do it this way later.
Yeah.
I planned it all, anything like that.
Yeah.
Because, but that's what it is. It's,
Why would it have been so impossible?
Well, like I say, it's, you have to pay everybody. You have to, to have a band that makes music. And well, first of all, if you have somebody, playing with people, you're playing with people. When you don't have anything, that means you're all together. Everybody just doesn't hang out in their house and, and you say, come on over. Like if you're going to make something, you really got to make it by yourself, or else have it all set up for you.
Well, do you think that the songs you're doing now would have been harder for large numbers of people to understand at the beginning?
Oh, sure. Also, I couldn't have written those songs back then.
Yeah, so
all these stuff I couldn't
go together.
But if I just came out and sang Desolation Row 5 years ago, man, I probably would have been murdered.
How did you feel like a Newport and at Forest Hills when some of the, let's say the old audience, or they thought they were the old audience, got so upset at hearing the electric guitar and all that, and the new kind of material?
I figured there's a little boo in all of us, and, if they had a good time, what can I say? What can I say? If they had a good time booing, there's just nothing I can say. Then I feel happy about it. If they didn't have a good time booing, I gotta think something's wrong somewhere. First of all, when you say old fans, I know they're not my old fans who booed. Mm-hmm. I know they're not my old fans. They can think of themselves probably as my old fans, but old fans, really. Old fans are people that are like, we're in that 1,228 people that bought my first record. Those are old fans.
Yeah.
Old fans are the 67 people that came into Goody's. Or the people down at the gas side. They're the old fans. They're the people that were at the just hung around the east side. And stayed in apartments. People I don't even see anymore. People I haven't seen who thought I had it made on my second record.
Yeah.
I just said, okay, Dylan's got it made, and that's it. Well, on the second record, that's what success meant then.
Yeah.
When I made my second
record.
How
come they don't see you or you don't see them anymore?
I have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
It's just scattered. I hear from them too once in a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see them once in a while. They're scattered all over. They really are.
Have you heard that thing Murray the K has been saying in the air? It goes in a poem that I can't remember, but the idea is the people who boo Dylan are as prejudiced as the KKK.
I believe that. By all means.
Are you all ever concerned about the fact that now that you're making it in the the way most people talk about making it, a lot of bread and all that stuff, that it'll be a lot difficult not to be tempted to keep on being popular. In other words, to stop going your own way.
Yeah, there's always that temptation, but I just know too well, that it's just gonna, it's just now, it's not. I refuse to be any kind of, Lawrence Welk or something like that. I don't know what else I can do. I'll continue making the records. They're not going to be any better from now on. They're going to be just different, that's all. And this was the last record I made was, I can't imagine them. Whereas when I made my last record before this, I still knew what I wanted to do in my next record. I knew what I'm going to do in the next record, but I know it's going to be the same kind of thing, just a little different.
How can you be so sure it's not going to be better, that you're not going to find something that's beyond?
Because on this last record, it's just too good. There's a lot of stuff on there which, I
What's
I
the
would
title of
listen
that
to.
one?
Highway 61.
Highway 61. Revisited, yeah. You don't call what you're doing now folk rock, but how did you move in that direction? Bringing in the electric instruments, having that kind of rhythm, that kind of bass.
Well, I've always done it. Even, it was there on the second record for one session, if you remember.
Yeah.
And the reason it wasn't done anymore is because I just didn't have the bread to pay anybody else to come in. We just did it for that one session. I didn't want to pay anybody else.
So it's not so new at all?
No, it's not new in my mind. It's new in a lot of other people's minds, but I guess it's not new in my mind.
What's your reaction, I think now, of Erwin Silber? To me, it's an idiotic position, but it's taken. Dylan isn't singing the protest songs anymore. That must mean he's sold out, that kind of jazz.
Well, that's his problem, It's I have really no reaction to it at all. It's just it's a totally other thing. I'm glad that if he's happy, I wish him the best, but he can, I don't care. It doesn't matter what they say about me. It really doesn't. If anybody could really understand that, as soon as long as they're trouble about me, I'm going to be around, as soon as everything gets straight. Yeah.
Would you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, as soon as they, start to, I don't even know what they say, I really don't know the ridiculous things they say. I know some of the things I do wrong. I do a couple things wrong. Once in a while I do something really wrong, which I really can't see when I'm involved in it, and that's where I look at later. I know it's wrong. I don't say nothing about it. It's got nothing to do with music, though.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing is the only thing that means anything to me. What I do is wrong, but this thing about, I'm not singing protest songs. They don't want to do that. I have absolutely no contact with that.
Yeah.
I have no respect for anything that they stand for to begin with. It's and not in terms of that, but in terms of not in terms of, not only for them personally, but like I have no respect for the conversation on what if somebody got something to say, I just don't have any respect for it. I think it's vulgar, obscene, and the idea of somebody having something to say.
A message.
A message
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
It's, then again, like we have the literary world or whatever have you, the museum types and this kind of thing, which is also I have no respect for. I just can't make it. It's just a total, thing which I just can't see. In my mind, if something is, artistic or valid or groovy or nice to be with, it should be out in the open. It should be, in the men's room, and it should be, places like that.
You were quoted as saying, like, what you have in the museums and what are in the books now really have no relationship to what's happening, to what's real. And
well, it never has,
Yeah.
It never really has. I don't see how it could. I really don't understand, I'm not involved in that side of it, but see, the sing-out world just overlaps into that kind of world.
Yeah.
Whereas that is really why I can't really pay too much attention to it. It's just a stagnation thing of putting books on the shelf, Like once you read a book, you just put it on the shelf and there it is, if you want to buy a painting, then you got to go out and pay a lot of money for a painting. You want to see paintings, you got to pay. You got to pay to go to the museum. If you want to, see dancing, then you have to mix with these theatrical people. You want to see a play. Look a lot of people you have to sit next to if you want to go see a Broadway play. Look at all this stuff, which is really, in terms of just, nobody with, $1.98 can go out and have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think a person's more lucky if they can buy a car, man. Buy a car with a radio. They're much better off than if they have, it's straining to go see all these Broadway plays and museums and stuff. It's because the same thing is on the radio.
Yeah, I remember you being quoted as saying that it's on the radio and on records that you get a sense of what's happening.
Well, it's not a sense of what's happening. It's like the things now. I don't know if you know the Motown Music Company.
Yeah, I get all their records.
Well, just like to listen to one of those records, like granted, like they may all sound the same and stuff like that, but that's like listening to one of those records. I mean, if you can't, if you can't understand the whole total thing, on what it's all about, then you gotta go to plenty of museums, man. You gotta go to museums, drink a lot of coffee, and wear a banana, man.
Somebody was saying, though, he said he started to play some of those Motown records at a very slow speed, and he said he was, quote, shocked, unquote, because some of those lyrics were very, what was the word, lewd. Does that bother you at all?
I don't think they're lewd on Motown.
Yeah.
They're usually not lewd. Say, I've had stuff banned for me for being lewd.
Yeah.
That depends on what you think is lewd.
Yeah.
Lewd.
How would you define it?
Is the name of a person, Lewd. John Lewd. I know John Lewd.
Is there anything in words that, like Lenny Bruce will say, there's nothing in a word that can be bad, which is just a word?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't see how anything can. I'm not afraid of words. I mean, maybe a lot of people are afraid of words, but that's who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
People are afraid of words. A lot of people are afraid of words. Well, that's a shame. That's worse than being frightened of a dog.
That line's gonna last. Hugh McCall had a thing where he said that you were so eager to get immediate success, you deliberately wrote down to your audience, and he said you avoided, during the protest song period, you avoided basic issues because you had no real anger. Your passion was manufactured.
Oh. Who's Hugh McCall?
He's that Scottish actor and folk singer,
Is he famous?
In Scotland.
Well, I don't know, I've never written down to anybody.
Yeah.
I certainly, if he says I wasn't angry, I never met him really. I don't know what he does for a living, Is he,
He plays clubs in London and he records, that kind of thing.
is he famous?
Among the real hardcore folk people.
Well, he's probably a little bit angry, that he's not really famous, really famous, but, I certainly can't, he's not, I don't even know the fellow, I can't really comment on it. I'm sure he's got good intentions, but...
Yeah. Do you ever feel a weight at all at the fact that there are all these kids who they don't even listen to the records, but it's almost like some of them try to absorb as much of what they think is going on those records as possible, and if they don't make you a model, they're certainly being very influenced by what they think is you. Does that ever...
Well, I think that's a good thing. I know that, first of all, what do you mean?
Well, I know kids starting 12 up, and they say that this guy is, nobody manipulates him, he goes his own way, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's right, but they can't very well do it at 12.
Yeah. But do you feel any responsibility in that sense?
No, I have no responsibility towards them.
The music just says what it says, and that's it.
It's the music, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not going to tell them to go out and do anything vulgar. I have no responsibility towards the fans. They're big grown-up people.
You were saying that a message song is vulgar. Using message in another sense, though, so far as you could put it into words, what is it you're trying to say through the songs you're doing now?
Well, I'm not trying to say anything anymore. You know, like once upon a time I tried to say, well, I'm here, listen to me. You know, once upon a time I tried to say, I'm here, I need some bread, you know, and I want to, you know, will you let me stay at your house tonight? You know, that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to say that anymore. You know, and now it's just letting, you know, the songs are just somebody else is hearing them. That's all it is. It's like if they'd be there, if anybody listened to them or not. You know, they're not manufactured songs. They don't, you know, they would be there. You know, they exist, and whoever listens to them, that's none of my business.
And what they get out of it is none of their business either.
None of my business either. You know, it's I know what they are. You know, but I can't tell somebody what they are, you know.
Nor can you tell anybody how to react to them or what they're supposed to get out of them. How do you account for because it's not just a passing thing, at least not in terms of the 3 or 4 years, of this great attraction you do have for more and more young people? You know,
Well, young people are really, they want to have free minds, you know. They want to be, they want to, because, you know, they're young, you know. Whereas people once, you know, like once they get out of college or go to college, they get involved in their lifetime thing, and they really don't have time to be, you know, they sort of really know that, you know, it's all kind of useless, and, you know, they can't really make such a big fuss over somebody, you know, they can't really plan to go see a concert, you know, months ahead of time. You know, things don't have the same attraction for them, and they have to put it out of their minds. You know, like they have to look down on a lot of things, you know, because it makes them feel better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas kids, you know, the kids don't have to think like that. They're all you know, home, and they want to get out. You know, it's still another thing to them.
Do you have any expectation that the kids listening to you now and being moved by what they hear, that some of them anyway may be somewhat different, that they won't get trapped in that kind of adult box, and that maybe you've helped not getting them trapped?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I had started to ask about whether you thought there was any hope that at least some of the kids now, particularly those listening to you, might not get into that adult box, and maybe if they don't, one of the reasons is the kind of stimulus you gave them.
Yeah, but it's not in my mind, though. My way of thinking. I don't really. I don't think in terms of the people that listen to me. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in terms of the records, of who buys the records. You know, like when it comes, you know, time. It's all in terms of what's happening here, around here. It's, you know, a total other world than a teenage market. I'm not going to fall for being any kind of spokesman for them or trying to teach them anything, because it'd be kind of silly. You know, it's a whole other thing. If it happens that way, you know, then fine. But it's.
You're not out to save them.
No. I certainly wouldn't run over them on the street or anything, you know, or if somebody, you know, needed a mouthful of water, I'd probably, you know.
But you can't save their souls for them.
No, I can't save their souls. I can't. I can't save their souls. No.
There was a quote in a Newsweek piece where you said, "I've never written a political song. Songs can't save the world. I've gone through all that. When you don't like something, you got to learn to just not need that something." Is there anything to add to that?
No,
that's pretty much what you feel.
Yeah.
And then the idea that, you know, like the Pete Seeger idea that you can change men's hearts and that sort of thing.
It's not true at all.
Yeah. Can anything? I mean, do you have any hope that there might be a new society, to use that kind of old terms?
No, I don't. You know, I don't know. I don't even think in terms of society. You know, it's society, you know, fights among itself. You know, all societies do, I guess. And I'm not really part of any society like that. I don't really know, you know.
I know the early write-ups used to say, well, here's Dylan, he's a social critic. He's showing us the hypocrisy in American life and all, and the...
Yeah, but see, it never was really valid. They could say that very easily about me. You see, it doesn't take much, you know, balls to say that, you know, or to write me up like that, because in fact, like, it's very easy to see I wasn't even a part of the society, their society. You know, they could come around and see the concerts and write stories about me and see me at a party or something, but it's very easy for say, he's condemning the society when I wasn't a part of that society. It's very easy, you know, for somebody to get kicked by somebody who's not a part of that society. Now let's say somebody like, you know, General McNamara. He starts criticizing the society. Now they're going to start worrying about it a little bit. But nobody has to worry about anybody from the outside that's very evidently on the outside criticizing their society, because he is on the outside and, you know, he's not in it anyway. And so they can just keep themselves happy, you know, and think that something, you know, is you know, romanticize things, but it's not true at all.
Do you or did you consider yourself from the outside a social critic, or was just
No, I wasn't really a social critic. It was just like, you know, it's like I knew where to put the song. You know, I knew where the slot was. You know, that's all. Nothing more to it than that.
Yeah. Speaking of being outside the society, one of the things that Joan is doing is herself and trying to get other people not to pay income tax as a way of protesting foreign policy. What's your view of that kind of criticism of the society from the outside?
Well, if she doesn't live in a society, you know, you can't go around criticizing things you're not a part of. You know, like, that's no way to make something better. You know, I'm sure, you know, that she's, you know, got a very good point there. You know, not paying her money to the, you know, tax department. But if that's more, if that's a question like, you know, am I going to do it? You know, I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm going to pay. I'm not going to get in trouble with those people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. You know, I mean, I live here. I wouldn't be. You know, I wouldn't have what I have really in this country unless it was this country. Wouldn't have it in another country. I'm not, you know, going to go along with them. I'm not going to go along with anything they do. I'm just not going to be a part of a lot of these things which they do. That's all.
Yeah.
But that's not. I'm not trying to wave any flag. That's just me. You know. You know, if I was going to, you know, not pay my income tax, that means first thing all the papers are going to come up and they're going to say Bob Dylan doesn't pay his income tax. You know, and it's like, you know, what good's that going to do? I mean, they don't need my money. It's just a form of, you know, thing what you do. That's all. It's not going to make a dent or anything.
Yeah.
You know, you know, if somebody wants to pay their income tax, I figure that's fine. If somebody doesn't want to pay their income tax, that's fine too. You know, I'm sure you don't condemn anybody that doesn't pay their income tax.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't really pay their rightful income tax. You know,
It's true.
like, to come out. I think it's kind of a bad point to come out and stress it, because it's going to be hard on a lot of other people who really don't pay a lot of their income tax.
You mean there's people are going to start looking more closely at all them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, and this is Squareville, but people who say, well, isn't Dylan in a sense playing a role, because he's not a country guy or whatever, but the dress is informal, and to, let's say, the Columbia record context, it's, if not bizarre, at least, you know, very distinctive. And is that a kind of a stance, or just more comfortable?
Well, it's just clothes I wear. You know, that's something that's, I certainly don't. Okay, I dressed in blue jeans for a long time, right? You know, I dress in shirts and clothes, and everybody says, look how funky he looks. You know, I made a big point out of it. Well, you know, like, it doesn't take much thinking. You know, like, I didn't really have many clothes, you know, back when I played on, you know, I didn't really have many clothes. I didn't even know what clothes were. You know, like, now I'm not going to walk around like I used to walk around. I got money to buy better clothes now. Why should I walk around like, you know, like a clown? I look like a normal person now. I want to look like...
But also, you're not going to go for Brooks Brothers or whatever, because that's not your
well,
style.
I said I don't like that style, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that Ivy League style, no. I don't like that.
What about the feeling among some people that you've become in a way your own kind of establishment. You know, surrounded by people, kind of hard to get to. And does this jibe with, you know, the feeling that you're talking about everybody being egalitarian and, you know, and no pomp, you know, no...
I'm not talking about anybody. That's their own paranoia.
You don't feel that you've become that that much of like the old movie star thing with the hangers on and Sinatra?
Oh, I haven't got hangers on and stuff like that.
Getting back to the look thing again, like Sonny and Cher, is there any significance, do you think, to the long hair business and all that?
No, there's not really that much significance. It's just either you like to, you know, wear your hair a certain way or you don't. You know, it's certainly infested a lot of minds with, you know, with trouble. But you know, I really see no reason for it.
You don't think anybody's trying to prove anything?
No, it's not that thing at all. Well, I must admit, it looked pretty incredible at first when you see, you know, if you've ever been to England and see people just look a whole other way over there, you know.
Yeah.
Now they really look like their ancestors, or whoever, the Prince Valiant, and all kinds of weird people. Over here, they don't. There's nothing. No, you can't even compare to what they look over there. They had a thing in some magazine a while back showing the long hair. Showing long hair first in the United States, group, and they showed Beach Boys kind of people with hair that comes down a little bit, you know, on the back of their neck, and they showed some kids in Chicago rebelling who have their hair coming down a little bit on their forehead a little bit, and somebody else, you know, in Hollywood, California, with a little bit over their ear. Yeah, it showed, you know, and then last page they showed a picture outside of a pub in England, you know, with kids about 17, 18 years old were just standing around. Yeah, and just no comparison in terms of people, man. Like they just, I mean, you could tell that they didn't have they didn't worry about long hair, you know.
It's not rebellion or anything like that.
No, it's not a rebellion kind of thing. It's it's just another way of kind of thing, which I don't know. I guess most people can't really see themselves doing, you know. It's an attitude, I guess, you know.
The attitude being?
That attitude of, you know, of why not, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Why not? It's like I get asked once a week, why you got a beard? Why not? This why not thing, do you feel that among the younger generation, there maybe is becoming more freedom? Like, for example, the kid, more and more of the younger people using pot or LSD or being a lot clearer about sex.
Well, I don't really know that many of the younger people. Yeah. You know, like that really is, that's fine to use pot and LSD and heroin and sex and everything. I mean, that's groovy, but I mean, like, I don't really know any of them, you know. When you speak of young people now, you mean, you know, kids in high school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't really, I really have no contact with them, you know, directly. You know, I read about them in the papers.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't really.
From what you read, do you think that gives some hope that there'll be again, when they grow up, they'll be less hung up with conformity and safe?
Yeah, but what it comes down to now is that somebody learns something so fast, by the time they're 21, they know that it's all bullshit, you know, and you get to really think of something to do. You know.
You mean the thing like pot or LSD isn't going to be that?
Yeah, well, most people, like, you know, like, you get to it, like, a lot of people get turned on when they're 45, and they realize what a waste everything is. But I know some people like that, you know, they really, you know, I mean, they're happy that they kind of really know a few things, but, like, they really, you know, they really go, shall we say, go with pot, you know, like they quit their jobs and they just sit around the house and laugh.
This is with pot, you mean?
So, and I mean, no, I mean, people that really sort of understand that at 45 that they've just been really hung up their whole life, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary to think about if your chick is with somebody else, man, if, you know, it's just the world is filled with too many people, you know,
But by turned on, you don't mean to anything, just to a
realization.
realization.
Just to a realization of things, you know. There's many thousands of ways to realize things, you know. They have even groups across the country. They have self-realization groups that you can become a part of.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee that if you try pot, that's going to turn you into any kind of realization of all
Yeah,
that.
well, I guess everybody smokes pot. I mean, pot is like sort of behind the times now. You know, it's like to get busted for pot is just is kind of like it's not really. That doesn't really much of a stature anymore. You know?
What does LSD?
Nothing really get busted for any of that stuff. It's just it's kind of like it's just a sign of very uncoolness, you know, unless they plant it on you or something.
You were saying that if the kids now, they learn it so fast that by 21, it really has no meaning anymore. In the sense of what? That they realize that too doesn't give any answers.
They realize that it's really a drag to plan for tomorrow their whole life.
Yeah.
And realizing in terms of really hard reality that tomorrow never comes. Like you always wake up and it's today.
Yeah.
You know, like tomorrow just never seems to come. And you know, and there is no yesterday.
Yeah.
So what's left is just, you know, nothing.
Or live in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I know a lot of people know this. I know a lot of people know this. I didn't know this really. So, you know, when I was 16, 17, but a lot of people know it now. A lot of people at 16 really know now that you know, the communication is so great. You know, communication of TV, you know, and radio and letters can get across the country fast, and telephones, man. It's like there's no reason for anybody not knowing anything really by the time they're that age. And a lot of people don't. You know, a lot of people are, you know.
By knowing anything, you mean knowing again that it's all
presence?
presence?
Now it's all in presence. Like to know pot, you know, or to know any drug is to know any drug is fine, and it's not going to fuck you up. You know, I mean that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But to know it in terms of not saying anything about it, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know, anybody, you know, they smoke, you know, pot, you remember smoking pot the first time in whoopee, and you got to tell your friends, man, this kind of stuff. I mean, that's not really, you know, so great or anything like that. You know,
it's like what counts is not whatever it is you're using or not using, but again, that realization about the futility of planning for tomorrow.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it doesn't even matter, you know, like, if you know, it's a silly thing to even to discuss them. I mean, you see lectures all the time in the Village Voice, lectures on everything,
yeah,
absolutely everything. They talk about, you know, the relationship of Gandhi to you know, to pipe tobacco, man, you know, and I'm sure they're going to get a hall filled, you know.
Yeah.
And see reasons for the, you know, reasons for the coming of the camel, you know, like there's thousands of people there are going to go see it, and they, of course, they all wear glasses, you know, and you know, and this is not really a valid world. This is, you know, this is you know, it's a very, what are you going to call it? I don't know. It's something called intellectual kind of world. It's boring, you know. It really is boring. They don't do anything.
Then I know some of the kids in Students for Democratic Society, you know, are working in the ghettos, and they say, well, the kids who figure they have the answer through pot or whatever are really running away from everything.
Well, nobody feels as if they have the answer through pot and all this kind. I don't want to make this kind of drug interview or anything, but like LSD, like once you take LSD a few times, you know, I mean, LSD's a medicine. You know, like you take it, and you don't really have to keep taking it all the time. It's nothing like that. It's not that kind of thing. You know, it's, you know, whereas pot, you know, we got any answers to pot. Pot is, you know, pot's not that kind of thing. Or I'm sure the people that say that the people who figure they got their answers through pot, you know, first of all, those people who say that they're just inventing something, and the people that think they really actually think they got their answers through pot probably never even smoked pot. You know, I mean, it's like pot is you know, who smokes pot anymore anyway? You know, pot is.
It's getting back to music. You were saying that you like the early Presley. I wondered about somebody like Johnny Cash now. How does he affect you? Because he's a guy
that's a very funny thing to have.
Yeah.
I can't really. really talk about it too much. I like Johnny Cash a lot.
Yeah.
I like everything he does, really.
Yeah, I've just begun to pick up on him.
His early records were much better, I think, than his latest records.
Yeah.
Although he's written some fantastic things. He's really written some great things. He wrote a rewrite of Frankie and Johnny. Did you ever hear that?
No.
That's better, much better than even the traditional version. He wrote Big River and all those songs
Yeah.
like that.
What about the Rolling Stones and the Animals? How strongly do you react to them? What they're writing and singing?
The Rolling Stones just recently began to write. I don't think the Animals have ever written anything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't think the Rolling Stones consider themselves writers or anything.
How about the music itself?
Music is just hard, straight music. It's.
Do you dig it?
Do I personally dig it?
Yeah.
Well, I would. Yeah, I dig some of it.
Mm-hmm.
I dig some of it. Some of the Rolling Stones music. I dig some of the Animals music.
And the Beatles, and you've got to see them, I guess, fairly often. In fact, I read somewhere George Harrison or somebody said, what you did mostly was laugh all night.
Yeah, that's true.
What kind of communication's going on there?
There's, I don't know about communication. It's just, let me put this, I could just laugh all night. That's about all.
How do you feel about Lennon and McCartney as writers? Because some of the jazz guys are finally finding that their tunes are pretty interesting.
Oh, their tunes are really good. They're all right.
How would you, now I'm going to ask you to be like a musicologist, but where do all these things fit in? Where's the mainstream in terms of, country and western, rhythm and blues, bluegrass, all that? How do you see it all in some kind of perspective, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think about it, what does that mean, mainstream?
I don't know. I never knew.
Well, that puts it in a whole other light.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly wouldn't know. I have no idea.
That stuff to you is just irrelevant. It depends on how it sounds. One thing I wanted to ask about jazz, which seems to have lost the kids entirely. You appeal to them, the Beatles do, the Stones, the Righteous Brothers, but jazz seems to have gone and past the young almost all the way. Why is that?
Well, jazz is, at least, I don't know what you mean by jazz, like modern jazz kind of thing.
I would say Charles or Thelonious Monk, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know, it's more like a little room kind of thing, I would think. I've places, and you gotta take the full trip. You can't just come in, in the middle of a song and get excited, You gotta start from the beginning, and you gotta be ready. It's like you gotta sit down there and you gotta say, okay, I'm gonna read this now, It's music, It's a lot of people really aren't equipped to deal with sounds, in such a way that they can't see any lead, they can't seem to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they can only follow straight chords. They don't want to follow anything else, They don't care how far out it is, as long as they can follow it in some kind of way. Like a lot of jazz, you just can't follow.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you sit down and take it from the beginning and do that. But that's hard. That's work.
Yeah.
Who really wants to do that?
What do you figure your songs are at all work? Like the images?
No, that might be work, but they're all easy to follow.
Yeah, musically.
They're all easy to follow. I know because I can follow them.
Yeah.
I can't. And if I can follow them, then anybody can follow them.
You're through the protest thing, but what's your reaction to this growing thing of, like Eve of Destruction? Somebody like P.S. Sloan who says his inspiration comes from being bugged most of the time. You think this is a passing thing?
Yeah, that's passing. That'll just go so long. That protest thing, it'll, even destruction, it's nice, it's good that stuff like that is being on the radio, but I don't know what it means. I mean, it's protests music. Protest music is, we've been playing protest music. It's been that in New York for 5 years.
Yeah.
That comes from California. That's the whole California thing now. Which when California gets into something, like they really go all out,
Mm-hmm.
And but
Why do you think it's going to fade away?
well, because people are just gonna get tired of it. Like they get tired of anything. They don't want to hear stuff all the time. Protesting all the time. I mean,
Do you think the kids who buy the records like Eve of Destruction buy it because they agree with what the guy's saying?
No, I think that was a good song. That was hard. That was exciting.
But
That was the hey, you get sick of it too. You need to get sick of "I Got You, Babe." You get sick of you get sick of anything.
Yeah.
Anything you're gonna get sick of. Doesn't matter what it is.
But I mean, some of the other songs that aren't as good musically as Eve of Destruction. Do you think the kids are digging the message, or is it just part of the fad?
Yeah, well, it's better to have them buying those things, I guess, and thinking about something. But like "Don't Step on My Blue Suede Shoes,"
Yeah.
like Carl Perkins, like there's no comparison, and which is better. Absolutely no comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Like "Don't Step on My Blue Suede Shoes," sung by Carl Perkins, is that's really, more listenable, or you can see more in that, or I can, than I could in Eve of Destruction. Only just because my mind works that way. A lot of people, can't really see as much in that,
We started off talking about, people like Cole Porter and Gershwin. Do you think it's accurate to say that what's happening now on records is a lot closer to reality than the Porter, Vincent Newman things, which was really kind of for a small group of sophisticates living pretty well?
Well, that's the same way as everybody. That's even all the poetry books, even all the books, even all the intellectual books, just appeal to a small group of people.
Yeah.
Even T.S. Eliot, Robert Frost, Ezra Pound, all those people, even people, like John Genet, they all just appeal to a certain crowd of people, and nobody else really. They only sell, a certain amount of books, and they sell them to people who are just going to talk among themselves about it. But they don't really get out into places where the people who don't really know each other can, all of a sudden are swarms over by,
Yeah.
Well, what would happen, if the United States was just all of a sudden Ulysses came on the radio one day, or what would happen, if it was just on the top 40 radio station? What would happen if they played, the movie We Are All Murderers, man, on a double bill with an Elvis Presley flick?
Yeah.
But it just don't happen,
What would happen?
Well, I don't know, but it actually, I mean, that's, like, why not? Why not do it?
Yeah.
Why not play, those kind of things together?
But so anyway, that's why Ralph Gleason keeps writing that what has happened is that popular music has become democratized for the first time. You've got Negro influences and country influences and songs that mean something to the kids. You think that's a fair appraisal?
Yeah, but then again, like I really have no contact with the kids.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is somebody just is watching, and listening. I would do it, if they didn't. I've always done it, and it's that kind of thing,
Do you have any contact with the kid dance, the new dances like the dog and the frog?
No, I have no contact with that.
Yeah.
Oh, we go in a lot of times we go to the clubs, some of the clubs, and they dance, but I have no contact with those kind of dances.
Yeah. You also said that teenagers all talk a different language. Name me a teenager. I have no recollection of being a teenager.
Yeah, well, I told the guy, name me a teenager, you know, name
Yeah.
me one teenager that who's a teenager, and he couldn't do it, you know.
Yeah.
Name me a teenager. I mean, who knows a teenager, you know? It's like, you know, I asked him what he meant by teenager. And I said, name me a teenager. Who do you mean when you speak of the word teenager?
Yeah.
You know, you're sort of insulting a lot of people there. And like, who really do you mean, you know? And he just couldn't think of anybody that he wanted to insult, so he didn't,
And when you said that you won't recollect being one, that means that when you were 15 or 16, you were Bob Dylan at 15 or 16.
Right, I wasn't a teenager, you know?
Yeah. Then, of course, you're talking about enemies. They can crush you, they can kill you, and lay out in 42nd Street and put the hoses on you. Who do you figure are your enemies?
The enemies?
Yeah.
The enemies are those people that can crush you and send you to 42nd Street, that kind of stuff. I don't know. The enemies can be, you know, the enemies are so, the enemies, I don't even know any enemies, but, you know, there's just a lot of people we show without a better name can be referred to as enemies, you know.
How would you characterize them? I mean, what?
Well, they usually have acid coming out of their ears, you know.
But do you yourself feel that, in any specific sense, you have enemies either in music or whatever? Anybody?
No, I guess there are a lot of people that want to, you know, see me done away with, you know. And,
why?
You know, well, the obvious reason because there are people that want to see anybody done away with, you know. But I mean, I can't really think of in terms of that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah. The thing you said to Shelton was, what I write is much more concise now than before. It's not deceiving. What did you mean by deceiving?
Well, deceiving means that, like when I wrote these songs, like, you know, a lot of those songs I wrote before, they were written, you know, within a small circle of people.
You mean like Masters of War? Or
yeah, there was a small circle of people that heard them, you know. And when they were brought finally to the outside, somebody else who heard them just weren't equipped really to take it and know it, you know, the same way, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I mean, deceiving is like straightforward, blunt kind of thing, and where somebody else could possibly think that, you know, something is happening which isn't happening. Yeah. It's like, I can't even remember back then. I can remember in little rooms, you know, writing those things, but I also remember I took the time out to write those things. The other stuff I was doing didn't even resemble those songs at all. They resemble more what I'm writing today in terms of songs, you know, which I wouldn't consider writing them in terms of songs because I know nobody could, you know.
Yeah. How would you explain the difference, although it's there to hear, but I mean if you wanted to put it into words?
Between then and now?
Between then and now.
Well, the difference is back then I was me, and now I'm me.
No better answer than that. You mentioned now that, you know, it's hard for you to just go on a bus, let's say, for 3 days. Is there any other way that all the renown has changed your private life? Are you still able to keep a private life?
Oh, yeah, to some degree. You know, I mean, it's some private life, but it's just that I don't really get around much, you know. I don't, I keep my private life. It's down, you know, to a certain thing, but it's, you know, it's what it is. I can't really say any more about it than that, you know. It's, certainly don't want any cameras coming in on my private life.
Yeah, and you'd like to keep it private. Do you still have a motorcycle?
Yeah, I still have a motorcycle. I don't really ride it too much, but I have it.
Why because I remember you used to be very fond of that.
Yeah, well, now I'm going to put my name on it and sell it for a lot of money.
So the lure of that kind of activity is kind of diminished.
Well, yeah, when you come to think of it, that I have ridden it one time during all the summer, it's kind of senseless to.
Why did it stop?
Well, I guess it stopped because I didn't ride it that much, you know, and a lot of people were fooling around with it, you know. It's, really, somebody got messed up.
We were talking about Joan you know, in terms of her
He is.
political and all. How about music? Because remember, you once said she changed your definition for a time of what beautiful was, because you thought it had to be ugly. In a
Well,
sense.
no, you read that on the back of the liner
Yeah,
notes.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, I wrote those liner notes. You know, I wrote those liner notes. I can't. Yeah, well, I really don't. I haven't even looked at them. I don't know what they say.
Yeah.
You know.
But
You know,
how do you, in a sense, assess her? And also, what do you think about the fact that she's using more and more of your songs? Do they sound that much different when she does them?
Yeah, she does them okay. You know, there's nothing like that. She sings very well. You know, like
Yeah.
certain kind of thing. She sings really very good. It's not the kind of thing where you can really listen to all the time, you know, or anything. But it's like it is a thing. You know, it's a thing. It's definitely Joan Baez. You know, you know. It sings validly, you know, and what she does is you know, it's good. It really is,
Yeah.
you know. A lot of things she sings aren't you know that good, but you know.
Have you ever had much conversation with her about nonviolence? You know, she's opening an institute or a training center.
No, I have no. I beat her up once. That's about all.
I take it then that your philosophy doesn't necessarily encompass nonviolence as an absolute.
I've never met any nonviolent person. You know, when I meet somebody that's really nonviolent, I can see how they act. I can, you know, I will then make my decision as to whether nonviolence is worth it. You know, to anybody at all. But I've never met anybody that's nonviolent.
Do you want to elaborate on that beating her up, or did we just drop that?
Yeah, I just beat her up. That's all.
Okay.
She wanted me to be nonviolent.
From what you've said, it comes down to, you know, living in the present, not worrying or expending energy on the future. Now, beyond that, and this is a slippery word, but what are your values? And just for yourself, not in terms of what anybody else thinks. I mean, what is meaningful to you in how you live? What makes it, what doesn't make it?
Catch the answer.
I started to ask about a hard word to put in the words values. What you live by. It sounds like Rita's Digest, but what makes it and what doesn't in terms of your own feeling about what's worth doing and what isn't worth doing?
Well, anything is worth doing, really. And in terms of the values, I just don't have any values. You know? I really can't, you know, I can't really think of any. You know, I'll do anything once.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like, I just don't have any values, you know, in terms of, values are supposed to raise your standard of being, evidently, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me about my standard of being, you know. I know, in my own mind, you know, that I don't want to hurt anybody or anything like that. And that's about all I can say about it, you know. But then again, I know a lot of people are hurt that it's not really me that hurts them, you know.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, they're just deceived, but like, I haven't hurt them any. You know? But then again, you can actually come out and hurt somebody, you know. Like, I don't really worry too much about people who say they've been hurt by me because, you know, 99 times out of 100, it's not me that hurts them.
Yeah. But that's a value then, isn't it? Not wanting to hurt anybody.
Well, I guess so, but, you know, it's, I mean, I would think that it's everybody's thing, you know.
But is it?
Oh, no, of course not, but I guess not.
Yeah.
No, well, then even, you know, even that ceases to be of value, you know, when you, even if there is somebody that wants to hurt somebody, you know, like what a person goes out and finds somebody that likes to be hurt. You know, and they just keep it there on that level, like, I'll hurt you, and I won't hurt anybody else if you promise not to be hurt by anybody else except me, you know.
What you're saying then is that everything is really relative. There aren't any absolutes.
I would think so.
Yeah. Do you ever envision that you might get interested in politics or in foreign affairs, you know,
No.
like some of the folk singers are?
No, that's really not my thing at all.
Yeah.
I can't really see myself up on
Mhm.
a platform with ways to help people
Yeah.
that they're if you know that aren't going to get me killed. Really, if I really wanted to help anybody.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if somebody's really got something to say, you know, and they really can help somebody out, and they do it just bluntly, you know, I mean, obviously they're going to be done away with. You know?
Yeah. Do you have any people in public life, not heroes, but people that you especially respect for one reason or another?
In public life,
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there are some, but I don't know of any. Mm.
Are there any groups or musicians we haven't talked about that you'd have something to say about, like, I don't know, the Righteous Brothers or Sonny and Cher, what you think about what they do?
No, I can't really. They're okay, you know. I don't.
The last thing I wanted to ask was, going back, all the various things that became part of your growing up process as a musician and as a composer. Remember you mentioned Big Joe Williams, among others. How did all this, you know, take shape so far as you can look back?
Well, I just, you know, made up my mind very early that if there was anything you wanted, you know, you really had to you know, make an attempt to sacrifice everything, a lot of things. And there was nothing really that I wanted, because you know, you can look around and see people that've got just about anything you'd want to think to have, and you can see how they are, you know, how they act, and what they're like, you know.
How do they act? I mean, you mean?
Well, they just act very strange. Let's say people who've, you know, who've got it all, you know, and inheritance and stuff like that, you know, and nice things, and that's all they've got, you know, is there things like that. Well, I didn't want anything like that. I knew that whatever I did, it would be in terms of some kind of creating something. And I don't know what it was, but it was me that did it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Something which I could also do, you know, just for, you know, me. So I just made up my mind not to have anything, you know.
How old were you when this was?
Well, I don't know, I was about 18, 17.
Yeah.
I knew there was nothing I wanted, you know.
Material, you mean?
Yeah. And I didn't want anything, and I just made it from there. So I just drifted around. I mean, I've been up a lot of times, man, in places with no place to go, and it's been very early morning and stuff like that, and it never fazed me. It was never like, well, here I am stuck on the highway, bumming down the railroad line, you know, and I feel sad, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of thing at all. It was like right out of my mind.
Well, does all this bread now, like I read you're going to make $1.5 million in the next 18 months, does that mean anything to you?
Well, yeah, all it does is it enables me to stay away and not get, you know, not really go insane with all the people that grab at you. And it's honest, you know, it's honest bread. I mean, it's honest in terms of, when we're talking about all the bread, what we're talking about is not the concert money or the you know, the record sales money, that stuff. And in terms of the money has come from just writing these songs.
That's where most of it
Yeah,
comes from. Yeah,
most of it comes from there. And that, all that money, you know, like it's there, I really can't think about it one way or the other.
Do you have that scene where somebody takes care of it and invests it?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
don't
I don't even touch it, man. I
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to be like that.
What do you think's going to happen to it eventually?
Well, eventually it'll probably just blow away. I don't know. Back where it came from.
Do you think your renown is going to blow away? You know, the way things sometimes just
Oh,
disappear.
sure. To, you know, a whole crowd of people just buying the hit records now. majority of those people probably won't have heard of me for a couple of years,
And
probably.
and then maybe a new generation of kids might find somebody else.
Yeah, I don't really worry about fading in or fading out, though. That's another thing.
In a way, would you welcome being anonymous again?
Well, I would to a degree, but not really. I mean, I wouldn't want to be anybody except me.
Yeah,
You know?
I meant anonymous only in the sense that you could walk down the street and...
Oh, yeah, well, anybody would welcome that. That's another thing, but... Then again, being me, I can get all sorts of little things, favors and stuff like that for other people, So that's...
Oh, we didn't go back to that. The various kinds of musics that, as you were growing up, helped shape what you were going to do. Big Joe Williams was one.
Well, that was later. That was when I left there. Well, the only music I heard up until I left Minnesota was I didn't hear any folk music at all.
Yeah.
I just heard country and western music, rock and roll, and polka music.
Who were the ones that you heard then that you especially dug? Country and western, let's say.
Oh, just about all the people. It's Marty Robbins. Not Marty Robbins, I didn't take his name. Dug Lefty Frizzell.
Mm-hmm.
Farron Young. All those people like
And
that.
rock and roll?
No, all the people that were around, Elvis Presley, and Carl Perkins, Gene Vincent, Buddy Holly,
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
And then what was added on, like in the folk field?
Well, then it came down to the fact that to make it alone, you had to, play alone. So you discovered folk music where people actually played alone.
Mm-hmm.
Then, first it started with, Odetta. No, it starts with Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
Of course, it starts with Harry Belafonte. You hear him, then right away you know that he's not really where it's at.
Why?
Well, I mean, you know right away, and you haven't got that much time to spend on Harry Belafonte. I mean, you know that he just doesn't know that many songs.
Yeah. And then Odetta?
No, Odetta, and you go through these stages, Josh White, till finally you arrive at Woody Guthrie, who sounds pretty weird,
Yeah.
and obviously who looks like, looks like you, to some kind of degree. And I went through all Woody Guthrie songs, and then the folk music, which I'd heard somewhat to a degree.
Yeah.
I knew people that sung Barbara Allen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I listened to all that music. And a lot of it I've heard before. I mean, I really actually have heard before. I've actually heard old people singing a lot of the folk songs. That like Lord Thomas and stuff like that. I've heard these songs before when I was young.
You mean around where you grew up?
Yeah, I've heard people sing. I never paid much attention, to people that did it, but people, the people sitting in their porches, man. Sometimes, when you'd walk by, they wouldn't be singing anything that would you hear on the radio. They'd be singing folk songs,
Yeah.
But who wanted to hear them, man? Like they were a drag, But I remember hearing them,
Yeah.
and there was stuff like that.
After Guthrie, was there anybody particular?
No, not really. Woody Guthrie really hasn't influenced that. Where I'm doing what I'm doing now, he hasn't had much to do with the influence of these past two records. In fact, he really hasn't had any influence at all on the past two records.
Yeah, I haven't heard any.
The influence has all been on the first record, second record, third record. The fourth one was kind of wearing off a little bit, but that was still confined to the folk music circle. When I say influence, I mean total influence. I mean either writing or singing.
Yeah.
I mean his influence is in his manner of speaking.
Yeah.
His influence is in his topics that he writes about. His influence lies in his phrasing, and stuff like that. Now there's really no influence in him. I don't know what it is anymore. It's not influenced by him really at all as much as the songs are influenced by sounds.
Sounds.
Yeah, the songs are just like opening up a window, and just looking out on the street, like it's all going to be a different street.
Yeah.
Or just being out on the street, just a whole kind of thing, which is not a thing to write about. I don't write about anything anymore. The songs aren't about anything.
Yeah, there's a kind of surrealistic feeling, especially in the last record. What you get are all kinds of images getting together. It's a very provocative kind of thing.
Well, you know, they're not really images to me.
Yeah.
You know, like I know what they are. They're real. You know, like
Yeah.
they might be images to other people who've never seen them.
Mhm.
You know, like but I know what those things are. You know, and when it comes time for me to be an image maker, I mean, you're really going to hear some fantastic images. But up till now, there's been no images really.
Yeah. Well, how do you define an image maker?
Something which I haven't seen. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I see, where it comes entirely out of your imagination.
Yeah.
How do
These
you,
songs are not out of my imagination.
out of experience?
Yeah, we can call it experience, I guess, or something.
Yeah. What you've seen or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you hear kids coming up now who try to sound like you? You know, all of a sudden you're an influence.
I'd like that. You know, I'd rather have me for an influence than, you know, Carol Baker, you know, or, you know, Warren Beatty or somebody like that.
Yeah. I wanted to be sure I was clear on one thing. You feel more like performing now because the group's with you, which means that there's less of that kind of pressure.
Yeah,
of being
also
so
because I
solo.
just want to. I really dig it, you know. I dig it, and the halls are all very full, you know, and it's just a thing now. I always wanted to do it, you know.
Why do you think it's become more fun for you in the last?
Well, it's good because I'm more in control. I know what it's, you know. I know what it's. I know more. It's like I know what I'm doing, you know. Before I used to do it, it just happened. Like you want a concert for a long time, you know. And the first big concert I played, I remember, was in Philadelphia, and we just went there, you know, in the car. And then I got out, took the guitar, and went up to the stage and sang for about 3.5 hours. You know, I didn't know what I was going to sing. I was just standing there trying to think of things to sing.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, and then after the concert, I just put the guitar back in and we all left.
Mm-hmm.
That was at Town Hall. And
Philadelphia or?
yeah, in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then we had one next night. It was like the same thing. You know, that was fine for them, but like, who can keep on doing that? I couldn't do that nowadays. I wear out my clothes every time I get on stage. I can't.
You mean there's that much wear and tear?
Well, yeah, it's either that or else I play it now. You know, like, now it's like I'm not just standing there and thinking of what to play. Like, it's all down now, and I know it, sort of, you know. And
You're a professional.
well, I hate to think of myself in terms of that. I hate to think of my terms and self of that. Really.
Do you think of yourself in terms of being a folk singer? Does that term mean anything to you?
No, it means absolutely nothing to me, folk singer. I know what folk music is, you know. That's why I really can't call myself a folk singer.
Why?
Well, you know, it's like people, they're talking about folk music nowadays. Like, most of the people talking about, they don't even know what they're talking about. You know, it's like when they always say that in folk music you can keep something simple, so the people can understand it, right? Actually they're insulting a bunch of people by calling them people, right? And so the people can understand it, you know. Whereas when they really want to look at folk music and folk songs, there are some really strange, weird folk songs, you know, that have, you know, come down to the ages based on nothing, based on on a legend or Bible or, you know, plague or, you know, or religion, and just based on mysticism. There are a lot of those folk songs, really a lot of them, but and it's, you know, I don't understand where all this business is. You know, we gotta just keep things simple. This is like a labor movement kind of thing, which is all just total, you know, waste.
Yeah.
Look at all these labor people. They're all rich suburb people who tell their kids not to buy Bob Dylan records.
You mean the ones who came up with the simple labor songs of the 30s?
Yeah, which side are you on? How asinine is it? Which side are you on? And which side can you be on? I mean, is there really only two sides to anything, you know?
Why don't you consider yourself a folk singer then, in terms of what you know about folk music?
Well, because I got a very deep respect for it. You know, I respect folk music. I mean, I really do. You know, it's great. Man. It's great music. You know, there's no doubt about it. You know, I'd rather listen to it sometimes than anything. But it's not a thing to play with. You know, you can't play around with it and have folk song groups and have folk gatherings and sing a bunch of folk songs. It's not that kind of thing at all. And, you know, it's just not that. People have just lost the point. That is not that is not the point of what a folk song is and who a folk singer is, you know.
What is the point, and who is a folk singer?
Well, you know, you have a lot of these people in the South who just sit around on places and they don't want to be bothered with any collectors or Alan Lomaxes or anything like that. Man, they're not going to sing any songs over tape recorders.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. They sit around, you know, and they can sing all by themselves, or if somebody's in the room, they won't even know you. They're like a writer, you know. They're like totally in a world of their own. And they sing songs about things which mean something to them, but don't mean a thing to anybody else. They talk about roses growing out of people's brains, you know, and you know, lovers who are geese, and you know, and swans who turn into angels, and you know, and you know, some very hard stuff, you know, like much more harder than that. They really talk about things which you know they know about, or if they don't know about, can feel it. That's what folk music. That's a folk song. A folk singer singing a folk song. That's what I would think of. I certainly wouldn't think of any, you know, 22-year-old kid going to you know, a labor rally and singing some union songs.
You mean a folk singer is where it comes out of a whole inner world, a whole world really.
Yeah,
background,
it's a whole world in somebody's head, you know.
Yeah.
Whether a folk singer, you know, it can be a gas station man, really, you know. We don't have to call folk singers, you know, Southern Mountain Farmers. We don't have to call a folk song, you know, a song that has been living for, you know, 1,800 years. We can call anything folk song, you know.
Providing that
it is in a rhythm of its own, and in a time of its own, and somebody else is. Whoever listens to it is allowed to listen to it, you know.
Allowed? You mean?
They're allowed to listen to it, not even to make a comment on it.
It's not. It's not a performance, in other words.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a performance at all.
Then what do you call yourself or consider yourself?
Well, obviously, when I'm on the stage, I'm performing. Now, the records aren't performances. We could have made this last record a lot better than we did, but it's all down there, you know.
But are you a folk singer then on the records?
No, I'm not a folk singer really at all. You know, I'm not. I could call myself a folk singer. I mean, if it would mean anything, but it doesn't mean anything.
What do you call yourself?
I don't call myself anything. I mean, I really don't. I'm sort of a slot machine wonder.
Yeah, what do you mean?
I don't really have any titles which I would really want to claim. You know.
Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked that you think would be relevant or irrelevant?
I don't know. No, it's really, I don't know, somehow even the you know, the idea of where this is even going to go. This interview is just,
say some more about that. I want to see. I want to see.
Who's even going to read it? You know, I mean, like, you take the kind of people that are going to read it.
Yeah.
And how much is the magazine? First of all, it costs what, you know, $1 or something.
$1.25 or something like that.
You know, I mean, there's going to be a certain kind of people that's going to read that magazine.
75.
So it's certainly, you know, like.
3 million.
You know, I don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine that I'm in a magazine. Maybe make some bunny chicks someplace, you know, to be in the magazine. But like, I don't see anything that's really going to be done, you know. Because to know anything, because I don't know where the outlet is for what I do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The only outlet I know of is records, and I don't know who buys the records. The same with the magazine. I have no idea really who buys the magazine, except that I know it's a very funny looking group of people. You know, I mean, people which I don't really associate with. I don't know anybody that associates with. Yeah. And we go to towns and we see the Playboy clubs. Yeah. And we see the people who go to the Playboy clubs, but God, man, like this, that's just, you know, it's who wants to go in a Playboy club, you know?
Yeah. You said, and this is the very last thing, do you think anything can be done by any one person to change anything?
Well, I don't know, like, I used to spend, it's about to change things, you know, like, it used to be that for days and days I would walk around in the same clothes, you know. Like, nowadays I change clothes, you know, once a day, you know. if I can possibly get to it, I change them more. I change them more, you know. And I think that's a big step.
That's
you know,
about the
for me.
that's about the one possibility of
And
change.
that's what the only change I see. The other change is destruction, you know.
And you think that might happen?
Well, I don't think it'll happen here. I just don't think people are ready for it. You know, I don't think everybody's so destructive as it is that if anybody wants to destroy something, there are enough people around to destroy whatever it destroys. You know.
Yeah.
But if you want to change something, man, what's all this talk in business? You want to change something, you just wham, you just destroy it. You know, or else don't talk about it.
Or sing about it.
Right?
Thank you very much. You had a lot of patience.